taking the tasks that used to be, oh, I gotta do this, and automating it all. So business automation using AI is the theme of the year, and that's what Ivan's gonna be talking about. So I'll turn it over to you. Welcome to the stage. Let's get a round of applause.
Oh, yeah.
How's everybody doing? Mic check, mic check. Everybody can hear me in the back? Good, good. All right, it looks like I've had the privilege and the amazing honor of speaking right after everybody's eating and everybody's trying to come in. So I will do my best to give you guys a little bit of a wake up. So if everybody can have their phones ready, because I got 15 minutes, and within the 15 minutes, what I'm gonna try to do is give you as much as I can about what I do for this topic, which is business automation using AI. And so have those phones ready. My clicker seems to be, there it is. All right. So when we're talking about business automation and AI, really there was a promise that was done, and as he had just mentioned, the host, this has been the topic for the year. And it's really the past 2 years. And so what I do as an organizational developer and as a business architect is that I deal with this promise that really has fell short. Our promise was that AI was going to liberate us. It was going to liberate us from the needs and from all of the efficiencies, and we were going to be able to do things very quickly and very accurate. And in most cases, that's true. But really the reality is, right now, if you're a business owner or you're working within a company at any level at all, what you're looking at is really this pace, this race of arms of innovation, and then that pace that you have to keep with your competitors. And as you're looking at both of those, how can I win this race of innovation using AI to automate my business, while also taking this pace on of continued innovation? What you end up getting is this tech fatigue, this change fatigue, this exhaustion within your corporation, where you start to miss things when you're trying to implement technologies. This is where I come in. I generally will not miss anything. This is what we do for a living. So what you're gonna see is the typical approach here for most tech and most businesses that we work with. So when we'll come into an organization, the business owner will see a problem, and what he'll end up saying is, for emails, I want everybody in my corporation to start doing emails a lot faster. Well, let's just implement ChatGPT so that we can do our emails much quicker and everybody can get on with their day. Well, what they end up having is a bit of chaos. The reason for that is because it's not as easy as just problem and then put in ChatGPT for a solution. There's a lot more that goes into that. If you give a workforce or a department just ChatGPT, let's say for the use case of emails alone, what you'll end up getting, what you'll end up getting is no consistency. Everybody's going on their own riff, and the prompts are not the same. So let's take a different use case. Let's say the business owner actually knows what he needs. What he needs is for his workforce in one department to send a particular email out to 4 different ideal customer profiles that they have. And he wants that email to be templated so that every time somebody jumps into the driver's seat behind on their keyboards, they're going to answer that email the way the company would, not the way that person would. And then he wants that email to be reviewed by a plagiarism app and then automatically sent to the customer. Well, what that looks like is a little bit different. It looks like this. And that's not as simple as a business owner just handing over ChatGPT to their workforce and saying, guys, use this, it's gonna save you a bunch of time. It's absolutely not if it's done that way. So this is the ideal approach to that specific use case that I was talking about. Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to download this. This is everything that I do. I only have 15 minutes with you, now 12. And what I want you to see is that I'm gonna give you the how and then the what. And that's what you have here. This is my 3-step process that I use as an organizational developer, and it's gonna have all of my sub-steps underneath it that we do with corporations. And then you have the what, which is about an exhaustive list of about 45 different off-the-shelf AI tools that we use to help create something like this for organizations. I'll put it back on the screen. And so this is gonna be everything that you guys are gonna need to take with you, even if you're somebody that's super experienced with tech. you're going to find something either within the map or you're going to find something within the 3-step process. And so I encourage you to take this home with you. This is what we do and what I give to myself and my workers when we're doing organizational development. And so here's the overview. The overview is to get to a problem and solution correctly. There's 3 major steps: identification, readiness, and implementation. So now when you're going into identification, what we're looking for is we're looking to identify the opportunity that we have at hand, that business owner's opportunity. And we're going to do that by process mapping, analysis, and automation. So let's get into process mapping. We start with an owner. An owner comes in, and they can do it 3 different ways. We can look at their product, and that product can be through a SIPOC map where we look at their inputs and outputs. We can look at their workflow, so it can be a very specific workflow, like the use case we discussed. I want my emails to be sent to a particular ICP a very specific way. What we'll create a process map of that workflow. Or we can do it departmentally. A lot of times, this is what companies choose. They just want us to go front end to back end and create a process map of every task that they do within a department. And so the next step, after we've created a visual process map of either their workflow, their product or service, or their department, we're going to start to create heat signatures on this map. What I want to know is where are your pain points, where are your pitfalls, and where are your bottlenecks. This is huge when it comes to first implementing anything within your corporation. It's what are those areas? A lot of times we talk about the issue, but that's not the root cause. And so this allows us to kind of peel back the layers and be objective about your company or your workflow or this specific task that you want to automate. And we're able to point out this is really what's wrong. It has nothing to do with that person in the seat. It has everything to do with they don't have the right tool or this is in the wrong place. And so we like to create those pain points, pitfalls, and bottlenecks. The very next thing that we want to do is we want to look at what can be automated. So we look at this 3 different ways. What are those areas, those tasks, and what can most benefit or be impacted by this automation? And I'm going to color that with a different heat signature on your map so that you could see what that looks like for you. And then we're going to go into the next step, which is assessing the readiness. And the readiness really is looking at 3 different things within your corporation: your complexity, the data availability, and then your workforce readiness. And so let's talk a little bit about the complexity. So the complexity looks at your micros and your macros. Whenever you want to automate a task within your company, and I create this process map or you create it for yourself, what you're going to find is that within each of those tasks, there may be some nuances of sub-steps that you do or micro tasks. And without understanding what those are, you're going to trip over yourself with adding this implementation of AI. And so really what we want to find in here is after we see the heat signatures, let's have some conversations and find out, what are those micro tasks for this specific one? I know that this step says to do X, Y, and Z, but what's the micro? Are there any sub-steps? And the biggest one is decision trees. So anytime you create a process map, you're looking at somebody needs to do yes or a no, make a decision. Well, what I want to do is create an objective truth behind that decision and create a tree, a decision tree of how it can be done without that person there. Data availability. This is a big one. So I had a use case where we helped a construction company out of Tampa. And what they're looking to do is they're looking to take everything that they did. They're winning tremendously. And they're about 25 million right now, and they're looking to increase another 25 million, so year over year, 100% increase. And they're looking to do it, and how they're gonna make that increase is by going into a different market. So they already own Tampa, they wanna own Orlando, and that's their next stage. Here's the problem. Whenever we looked at what they do, that data, how it lives, is in Google Docs. So I don't know if I'm sure everybody knows Google Docs. The problem with Google Docs is if you have a corporation where everybody has access to this Google Doc, it is live. And we have seen somebody just press enter or press delete or click somewhere where they weren't, and that item is gone. Now we can backtrack it, but we can't take that with us when we're doing our duplication. And so with that use case, we had to figure out where that data lived, which was Google Docs. We had to figure out how we were going to pull that data, whether that was going to be on a proprietary server or through a different ERP. And then we needed to make sure when that data was getting pulled, is it clean? Most of the time it's not clean, and us as developers, we got to make sure that it's clean coming over. And so that's currently what we're doing. You guys should be seeing them hit the market very soon in Orlando. And you're looking at workforce readiness as the second one. So what I want to say here is everything that I just touched on within these steps had to do with either the data, the process mapping, or the actual tasks. Now I'm talking about the actual people that are going to do this day in and day out. So what we want to look at here is within your workforce that's going to take on this automation, what's their capacity look like? Every workforce has different capacities, and we can go even into the particular attributes of a specific chair or a person within it. But what's that capacity look like? How's the buy-in within the organization? A lot of times the owner wants it, and the rest of the team does not. So we got to work on what that buy-in looks like for the organization and how we can bring everybody along. And then lastly, what are the resources that are needed? Do I need to update something? Is there a different server that I got to bring in so that it's remote? What are the resources that are needed for me to take on this automation within the business and that company ultimately? And now I can implement. Very smooth, right? No, there's a ton of things that happens. Step 1 and step 2 very rarely are done by business owners. It just doesn't happen. And I see it day in and day out, and it's the reason why I have a job, so I'm a little bit thankful for it as well. But they don't do it. And what I want to say is that everything has led up to now I can implement this automation. So in implementing the automation, the first thing that I want to do is tool selection. You guys have on that layout about 45 off-the-shelf tools that I like to use for creating that first use case that you guys saw on the screen. And so tool selection is exactly that. Let's put together a pool of all of the AI tools now that we know where they need to live, and let's put them together on a screen so that we can start looking at them. Next is integration. I need to test those tools. Now that we know the workforce readiness, everything is done, I want to start testing in the back end this particular automation for the company, whether it's a workflow or whether it's a department or whether you're looking at a particular product that you're trying to do from beginning to end. And from testing, nobody has seen this yet. None of your employees, they've heard about it, we've talked about it, but now is the biggest thing that most corporations miss, and it's the change plan. So now that you have this amazing automation that you've put in your business, well, we have to roll this out. It needs to be socialized. We have to now create a change plan where little by little, if this is entire workforce or one person, somebody is a dependent of somebody else. There is a contingency here within the organization, and we have to look at it as a whole, create this change plan to implement. And that brings us back to if you can do these 3 steps for your organization, the reality can finally start to be the promise. Because now what you'll see is you'll see that AI tool that you wanted to implement into your corporation, it's done well. It was done the right way. And now you don't have to have that change fatigue when you're bringing it together. So what I want to do, that was a whole lot, and I went into sub-steps and the attributes of most of those sub-steps. But what I want to be able to leave you with is a 30-minute virtual free one-on-one with a business architect or organizational developer. I'm going to allow that 30 minutes to be with anybody from here. After speaking with Jason, that was something that we said was okay. And so what I want to talk about is your use case. What does that look like to have somebody else's eyes that do this every single day? And just tell me what your use case is, and we might be able to start to put together some very nice maps for you to implement on your own with you and your team, or you can have somebody like me work on the business while you continue to work in the business, which is very different. So I want to open up. I got a couple minutes. I want to open up to questions. Any questions that somebody may have in the crowd as far as AI automation, implementing AI within your business? Anybody? You can shoot, doesn't matter. I can't see, guys, so if anybody said back here, just go ahead and yell it out. I can't see.
Hello, how are you, man? Ivan, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So if we put together this tool package, it sounds like, right? As we put it together, how is that going to be something that we can keep inside of the organization like ad infinitum, right? Because if we're using other people's tools, then is there going to be a danger later on that now a piece of our system that we've created is no longer available because it's got a different pay package, or the early architect, the team is no longer with the organization? So how do we make sure that the tools we're using to create this system remain available to the organization long term?
That's a very good question. A very good question. So we normally try to answer this question around step 2. And the question really has only 2 options to it. One is you can use an off-the-shelf tool, which is part of that 45 exhausted lists that I gave you, or depending on the owner and how it looks, we would just be creating a brand new tool for them from scratch. In development on back-end servers, whether that's an LLM that we have to pull and actually create from that. The biggest thing here to your question is scaling. So as the company changes or these companies change, how will that impact? The beauty here is that you can put your finger on it. Finally, you can actually look and say, well, this automation, if you were going to go the off-the-shelf route, cost us X amount of dollars. And as they change or they ramp up, we want to make sure that we do as well. But we can look at that automation, what it affects, and very easily swap, because we're only looking at that particular within the micro, not the macro. Hopefully that answers your question. Anybody else? Business automation, AI. Anything you've ever wanted to do in your company? Anything at all? If not, we have, oh, it's off. Okay, I don't know if you can put that back on for one more time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys listening. And again, try to take advantage of this 30-minute free, and we'll talk about your use case within your corporation. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.